How's it, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be going through the stats of the past game week. Starting off with the City Tottenham game. As you can see, 1.55 expected goals for City versus the 1.11 for Spurs. Um, Considering that this game ended 2-0, you could say City were maybe a bit unlucky. I watched this game and actually surprised the City got such a high XG because it did look like Tottenham maybe weren't dominating, but they definitely had the better chances, and their structure and tactics were extremely good for this game. Their press was really proper. It seemed like it nullified City completely. Individual performances. Kudus, he's a very popular player. He hasn't been incredibly threatening the past two games. Obviously, Spurs against Burnley. Burnley, the numbers I think were a bit inflated, but expected goals. Even in the last game against Burnley, there was nothing really there to speak about. This game only a 0.09 expected assists, zero expected goals. I'll almost take a risk on another Spurs asset if I do go there. They do have great fixtures coming up. Someone like a Johnson, I think he's a very good option. He's one of those guys that will get very big chances throughout the game. He went on a really hot streak last year, and I think he could do the same with all these fixtures. The one thing you would have to worry about is maybe rotation. At the moment, they don't have a lot of options on the wing, and now they're also not getting Savinho from City because City don't want to sell him because they aren't going for Rodrigo anymore from Madrid. So they're keeping Savinho. Looks like Spurs aren't going to get another wing option. It could change for the end of the window, like a lot of things. Um, Pedro Porro, quite good expected goal involvements, not bad at all. 0.21. Haaland had a 0.77 XGI, which was really good. I brought him in this week. He wasn't my captain, but he definitely will be for the next game against Brighton. I think that really will suit City a lot. I think City will take a bit of a similar approach to Wolves, where they almost invite a bit of attack on from Brighton and then just hit them in transition. So that's very good for Haaland. I think he's going to get some big chances, and also Rangers. He loves playing in transition games. Well, we can't say it yet, but from what we've seen, especially his first game against Wolves, there was a lot of transition in that game, and it suited these assets. Um, Moving on to the next game, Chelsea versus West Ham. This was the Friday night game. Palmer got injured in the warm up. So if you look here, it looks like Palmer was going to play right wing, Neto on the left, João Pedro, Cam, and Delap centre forward. That looks like what they were going to do until Palmer got injured, and then their new, I think it's Estivo, came on to replace Palmer. So that is actually good news for Palmer's future potential because he's really, if he plays Cam and he's playing in those left-sided positions. If he's taking up those positions, then he isn't as good as an asset. He's better on the right. We can cut in onto his left foot to find some players or attack goal. Um, and I do back the Chelsea manager. So I think when Palmer does come back, it's either going to be João Pedro at nine and Palmer at cam and taking up some right-sided pockets, or you're going to play him at right wing. So when Palmer does come back from injury, we'll definitely be looking for the next press conference, because it doesn't look too bad. It looks like he could even be back this weekend. Maybe he'll be on the bench. Uh, but definitely after the international break, I think he'll be back. And I think after that, he could even be essential because this Chelsea team is really looking good. João Pedro is someone who I actually brought into my team this week after the fixtures came to an end. Before his price increase, took out Ollie Watkins, but he's looking really good. And the good thing about him is we thought he might be at risk of rotation from Delap, but it looks like Maresca doesn't mind playing João Pedro in that cam role. So even if Delap does get a few games, Pedro will likely still be on the team sheet. Neto also looking like a good option. I really like the Chelsea attackers. I think they could be underpriced this season. They look like they're going to be one of the best attacks in the league. They really do. At some point, we could even be looking at a Palmer, Neto, and João Pedro in all of our teams because there is very good value for these players if they do kick off. Neto, I think, is their favored winger. I think he's pretty much nailed. I think he's the only nailed wide player at the moment. But if Palmer does start playing right wing, then obviously Palmer's going to play there every game. Maybe João Pedro at 10, Delap at number 9. Then there's too much potential in the winger spots. You have Gittins, you have your Estivo. Those guys aren't never going to play. So I do think Maresca favors Neto quite a bit, but he could always get rotated, especially in the future. Moving on to the Brentford Villa game. This game ended 1-0. The expected data was quite a bit closer than I thought the game was. I didn't watch my eyes weren't on it the whole time, but it was on in the background, and I thought Brentford were looking a lot better. The flow of their play was looking quite good. I think there could actually be some options later in the season. Brentford do have, even like coming up, Brentford do have really good recruitment. Uh, Thiago's a striker they spent a lot of money on previously. Couldn't play last season because of injuries. Dango coming in. They could strike up a very good balance. Say Dango becomes a bit of an Embuemo. Um, Especially now, well, especially because their coach has been there last season as well. Doesn't look like he's going to change too much. Wants to have the same kind of system. Their defense is looking good. Kelleher could definitely be the best 4.5 option. And if I go for a 4.5 keeper on a wild card, it would definitely be him. Could save a little bit of valuable money over someone like a Sanchez. Villa, I am a bit worried about. Their attack isn't looking too great. I think that midfield is a bit too defensive minded. I think you need someone a bit more attacking in there. Maybe Tillemans dropping back into a bit more of a number 8 role and putting on a Buendia as Cam or even a Marlin, or drop McGinn, put Marlin at left wing. A little bit more fluidity in the attack, I think, would do a lot of good. Watkins was not looking too bad. Well, I won't say looking, he was looking quite bad. I don't think Villa were looking good, but his expected data wasn't bad at all. It kind of makes me think maybe I was a bit rash. I took him out for João Pedro after this game week, um, just because I really don't like the way Villa are looking. Um, but they have very good fixtures coming up. Watkins surely will come right at some point. So I think the smarter play, and if I waited a bit later in the game week before making that transfer, before the price rises, I might have made that small call, just kind of leaving him in there. Surely they will turn it around at some point. Moving on to Arsenal versus Leeds. This was a very, very tough game for Leeds. They played extremely well against Everton in the first game week. They dominated that game actually, completely. This game was a lot tougher, obviously coming up against Arsenal. They really did struggle. They didn't do much at all. Uh, but Arsenal played well. They were looking good. XGI, expected goals of 2.88. And Leeds only getting a 0.17 expected goal shows a lot for the Arsenal defense, which we know is really good. Maybe we should have a lot more Arsenal defenders in our team, even with their difficult fixtures. Calafiori, he's someone that's, I know Timber got like a 24-point haul, but if I was going to go for one of them, I think Calafiori is a really good defender to go for. I don't think he has much competition. Well, I think Lewis Skelly, he plays there, but I mean, Calafiori's data in the last few games, I do think it's a bit risky because of rotation, but um, expected goals of 0.39. I think he got another assist in this game. Last game, his expected stats were extremely good as well. Gyökeres, something about him I just don't want in my team. I don't know what it is. Maybe also the fixtures now, I don't really want to go after it. But he's been getting a lot of good chances. First game week and this one coming up. Saka did pick up an injury. He should be out for about 4 to 5 weeks, so that could easily affect Arsenal's attack as well, especially in the bigger games coming up. They might struggle to create those chances for Gyökeres. Um, Next game, Forest versus Palace. This was a 1-1. Um, and by the looks of the expected stats, 1-1 is a fair scoreline for this game. Chris Wood still looking good. Expected goals of 0.23. And this is a very tough Palace team to play against. I think I don't think people don't think they're good, but they are extremely good. And I see them as a top team. Very difficult team to come up against, especially for the bigger opponents. Chris Wood is someone who is definitely an option coming up in the next few game weeks. If you can get to him, or if you are with him already, I think it's very lucky. I think West Ham, Sunderland, and Burnley coming up in the next four. It's really good for him. If you have someone like Anderson, he didn't look great in this game, but with these easier fixtures, I really do back it. Saw is also someone I have my eyes on. If I hit a wild card now, he would definitely be in it. The fixtures coming up, you have Villa, which is there's going to be a lot of transition in that play as long as Villa start attacking a bit more. Um, it's his perfect game. He scores those counter-attacking goals with transition goals. And after that, there's some very easy fixtures as well with Sunderland. Munoz, again, getting a very good expected assists tally. Someone you could look at is Lacroix. He's 5 mil and he's gotten different DC in both opening fixtures. So if you want to go save a point 0.5, you could very easily go for Lacroix over him. Um, Fulham versus United. Fulham actually gathered a higher expected goals in this game, even though United had a penalty. So that isn't too good reading for United fans. Fulham have been looking very decent this season so far. Anderson, it speaks to him as a good potential asset. He gets DEFCON in almost every game, or at least every other game. And Fulham are looking really good. So he's definitely an option. Um, Something else I saw was Castagna was playing right wing, which was quite interesting. I don't see him going there all the time, but that's something to keep an eye on. He got an expect XGI of 0.34. Something to note here, King started this game, but he got subbed for Smith Rowe in the 71st minute. And Smith Rowe looked really good when he came on and he scored the equalizer. So maybe King's minutes are a bit of a risk now. They do back him a lot, the staff at Fulham, but you can't see Smith Rowe not playing in this team. Maybe he'll be on the wing rather, Smith Rowe, and you keep King in the team somehow. But yeah, it's a bit of a risk going forward. Um, United, looking at these stats, obviously Fernandez had that penalty, so that's where his expected goals came from. But he's really looking. He's a defensive midfielder at the moment in the system, which isn't great at all. He's been very close to defensive contributions. Maybe owners have been a bit unlucky with that. It could have been a very different game week if he got an extra DEFCON point. Um, then that's two plus a penalty scored. He could have easily had a 13-point haul in this game. 11, 13 points from doing almost nothing. But if I was to go with a United player for the next game, looking to bring one in, I would go Cunha. He looks like he's involved in a lot, playing in the number 9 role. He might not be playing there the whole time because they do have Sesko. He might come in, but he's not looking up to speed at the moment. So I think Cunha has that spot for a while. Um, and Burnley, who do you want? John, the number 9 is going to be in and around the action the whole game. Last game to go over is Newcastle versus Liverpool. This is a extremely difficult game to talk about because it was just all over the place and no one knows what was happening this game. I saw a stat that the ball was only in play for 40% of the game, which is outrageous. The amount of set pieces and scrappiness, and it was just the Liverpool Newcastle games are always interesting. They're fiery, they're difficult, and now you add the whole Isaac drama onto this. It was an insane atmosphere inside there, very difficult. I mean, lots of these Liverpool players, first away game in Liverpool shirt at a Premier League game, you go to flipping Newcastle and you have to deal with all of this. It's tough. Um, but yeah, Newcastle were amazing. They were really good. I'm a Liverpool fan and I watched this game. And that midfield is just so powerful from Newcastle. It makes it so difficult for other teams to play against. That's why I think Newcastle's defensive assets are such good value. One thing is the Tonali looked like he got a bit of a serious injury, so he might be out for quite a few weeks. Joe Linton also went off with an injury, so they might be weakened coming up, which isn't great news because they have some really good fixtures. And if you were doing a wild card, that would be something to really get the edge over other people, is going for this Newcastle defence, who not a lot of other people would have. Looking at Liverpool, well, Gordon would have been before we moved to Liverpool, Gordon is looking so good. He's looking really threatening, especially if they don't have a number nine embedded. I'm sure they will have a number nine before the window closes. But Gordon was looking so good. But unfortunately, he's suspended now, so he's not an option anymore either. Moving to Liverpool, it's a bit difficult to speak about. No one was looking insanely good. I think the only positive from FPL point of view we can look at here is Ekitike. Didn't have great expected stats, but he looks clinical and he looks involved. The ball was always looking like our attack is transitioning through the center, and Ekitike just looks like he's involved in a lot more, even than Salah. So I really do think Ekitike is someone to keep an eye on. If we don't sign Isaac, then Ekitike has to be in everyone's team. You have to get him in. He becomes almost essential. If you have the number nine for Liverpool at 8.7, you have to get him in, especially considering all the attack is going through the centre. Verts is a bit worrying. I own him. Um, he's not. It's a difficult game to judge off of. The Arsenal is going to be an even more, maybe even a more difficult game to judge. I think we will have more of the ball and we would be able to transition better against Arsenal because they're not as difficult to play against in terms of the atmosphere and just how the intensity of the Newcastle team. So Verts, if he's not dropped, I don't know if he's going to start the next game even because Soboslai did have an insanely good game. So Verts might not even start the next game. But yeah, we're going to see some easier fixtures coming up. Liverpool have had a tough start to the season. Arsenal is going to be a tough game as well. So first three games really difficult. When it starts improving, the likes of Burnley, I think Verts will be insanely good. You know, you'll be up there in and about the action, have a lot more freedom to get up close to goal. So that would make him quite exciting and a lot better than what we've been seeing from him now. But can we wait that long? I don't know. It's very possible a wild card next game week. And then it kind of depends on the Liverpool transfers because if we don't sign another attacker, then my wild card is going to have Ekitike and Gakpo in it because if they nailed, they're almost no brainers. You got to get them in. Um, yeah, so that was a look at the expected stats for this week. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you for my team selection. I'll probably post that on either tomorrow or Thursday.